It's Victory Monday, Dolphins fans. The first one of the year, technically, because the other win came on a Monday. It's good to be celebrating a good performance this Sunday as the Dolphins dominated the Atlanta Falcons. And we got some interesting updates following the game on changes that were made. And it's all positive stuff here for Miami. I'm Nick Roloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. But I want to firmly start the video by saying this. I think this past win for the Dolphins is legitimately the best game Miami has played since they beat the New York Jets on December 17th, 2023, when they beat the Jets 30-0. I mean, when you look at how Miami dominated this game, they dominated on offense, they controlled the line of scrimmage, they dominated defensively at all levels of the defense, and they even dominated on special teams in terms of executing at the highest level. This was as complimentary football as you could imagine, and it was awesome, and it was a pretty sight to behold because we have watched some awful football through the first 7 weeks of the season. And if you are fired up about Victory Monday like yours truly, smash that thumbs up icon. We don't get to celebrate a ton of wins here at the channel, and I'm going to take advantage when we can, so hit that thumbs up icon. But the news that I kind of want to talk about is a slight change that Miami made in its procedures and in its coaching staff. Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator, he does not call plays. It is still Mike McDaniel, but he heavily is involved in the offensive schemes, the game plan put in from a week-to-week basis, and he is a overarching talking head. And we've talked a lot about how the procedure at times this year and the communication has been off. Players not knowing if they should be on the field or not, being in the right spots or not. And it's led to false starts. It's led to illegal shifts. It's led to delayed games. Well, Frank Smith, he has been in the booth all year long, up top, seeing the whole field. They moved him from the booth to the sideline, and it seemed to really make a difference for the Dolphins' offense, the confidence, and the communication. I mean, think about it. Yesterday, they had what? A couple false starts? Other than that, no legal shifts. They were never really threatened by the play clock. They never had any delay games. Everything just felt way more smooth and put together. And Mike McDaniel even pointed this out as well as how Frank Smith may have made the difference here. He said that Frank's a problem solver, a solution man. He invested in the players. They respond to him. So it seems like the coaching staff liked what they saw with Frank Smith on the sideline, and so did the players. Tua Tagovailoa even talked about how big of a difference it is. He says he doesn't get to talk to Frank Smith when he's in the box, but him being down on the field was a massive help. And I think all the players would say the same. One player that said the same, Achane, the running back. He said that he does not want to see Frank Smith in the booth again for the rest of the season. I'm not going to be here to tell you that this turns around the season, but I might be delusional to tell you that the entire difference for the Dolphins and how successful they were offensively this past Sunday was stemmed from the change of him being on the sideline. Maybe him communicating with Mike McDaniel more and more efficiently in terms of what the Dolphins need to be doing. We should commit to the run. Call these run plays. They're struggling defending it. Calling the Texas screen that worked a couple times for Ollie Gordon and Achane. I think Frank Smith being on the sideline really did have a positive impact on this game. I also can't remember the last time the Dolphins, the way they called plays and the balance between designed runs and pass plays. I haven't seen it this stark before. They had 37 designed runs to 29 dropbacks. That is a stark difference between what we usually see from Miami, where, if anything, it would usually, if the Dolphins ran, what is that? Quick math, 66. No, 66. Yeah, 66 offensive plays. It would usually be 40 passes and 26 runs. But you saw a complete flip, and you saw how that was positively impacting the Dolphins offense. I mean, look at the distribution of running carries. Achane with 18. Gordon with 10. Jaylen Wright with 9. Now, Ollie Gordon was ironically the most efficient, averaging 4.6 yards per carry, and he had about what? Coop, 3-4 pickups on 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. Like, Ollie Gordon has been exactly what Miami expected him to be as that short yardage, physical, downhill runner. They drafted him to be in the 6th round this past April. He has done everything you could ask for in the running game and more. And, like, what do you know, by the way? We have talked about it for 3+ years here as Dolphins fans. And ever since I took over as channel host a year and a half, 2 years ago, excuse me, we have talked about it a lot. Committing to the run game opens up everything for this Dolphins offense. Whether it's the play action game, that Jaylen Waddle 43-yard touchdown, by the way, was all created because of the rushing attack. You watch that play back on film, when Tua goes to put the ball out, the safeties crash down. Linebackers take a step up because we've been committed to the run. We've been gashing them. And what happens? Tua pulls it right back. Jaylen Waddle's speed beats the in route or gets on the in route, beating the corner, gets right behind the safeties before they can get back and get more depth. Waddle in stride, off to the races. Touchdown. Like, you commit to the run, you run it effectively, it sets up your entire offense. I'm not saying Miami needs to go out there and run the ball 37 times a game. That's just unrealistic to think that the game script and them getting out to an early lead allowed them to really lean on the run. The point we are making, though, is that it should be a 50-50 split, and Miami's run attack has actually been really good this year. There's been one game where it hasn't been good. That was against the Carolina Panthers. Every other game, they've ran the ball effectively and efficiently, and as long as Miami doesn't fall behind by 2 scores early, if they can commit to it, they'll be able to hang in there with any defense and be in every game they play this season. Pin comment, let me know, are you starting to believe after a dominating win in Atlanta? Are they finding their stride? Y for yes or N for no? As we continue to talk about some of the news and highlights coming out from this game, you just got to give Tua credit, man. We sat here just 1 week ago today and bashed Tua into oblivion because he played, I think, his worst game of his career against the Cleveland Browns. You could argue that this was one of his best performances of his career just 1 week later. He ended up throwing 4 touchdowns, a QB rating of 138.6, and he was efficient. He distributed the ball extremely nice. Not one player dominated the receptions. The leading receiver for Miami was 5. Jaylen Waddle had 5 receptions. Achane had 5. You saw Malik Washington with 4. Tanner Connor with 2. And then Gordon, NWI, Cedric Wilson, Jaylen Wright, Alec Ingold, all with 1. Like, this was as Chris Paulish of a game as you could see. Tua wasn't going out there and bombing the ball down the football field. No, he was taking what the Dolphins or offense was given by the Falcons defense and just throwing it to the open guy, making the right reads, not holding onto the ball too long, but also not panicking if his first read wasn't there. Got him credit because he played well despite having to deal with that eye injury. And he was actually asked about the eye injury after the game. He said, I had some thoughts about what it could be or might be, but none of those seem to be what it was. Maybe a sty or allergic reaction. We'll be able to figure it out when we get back. But heck, I don't know if we should figure it out. Maybe you should play with one eye more often, man. I did find this hysterical. This was actually out after the Jaylen Waddle 43-yard touchdown play action seed over the middle. He goes to the sideline and covers his eye. This team, I'm such a sucker. I really am. Like, this team still probably stinks. They're 2-6. It's been so annoying seeing the disaster of Mike McDaniel and Tua this year. But one good game has me ready to run through a brick wall for them. It does. And I hate that I'm like this way. I really do. Like, I thought Tua was awesome. I loved some of the shenanigans, if you will, on the field, off the field. And Mike McDaniel even running off the field yesterday. Willie Finn's action running off the field. It was unbelievable. I mean, this team. More coming up here, but this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day. The right decisions on Prize Picks can get you paid. So easy, so simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks now offers stacks, by the way, meaning you can pick the same player in your lineup up to 3 times. For example, want to pick Achane fantasy score, receptions, rushing yards? Well, now you can all in one lineup on Prize Picks. I have an entry in for a little Monday Night Football action. I go more than Matt Gay, half a field goal made. Mariota and company going to settle for 3 for sure. Less than Patrick Mahomes passing yards, and then Rashee Rice more than 67.5 receiving yards. He had 2 touchdowns in his return game last week. Does he do it again? We'll see. But that's my 3-player entry for tonight. Use code CLNS when you download Prize Picks to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. That link is in the description and comments of today's video. Let's shift over to the defense because I was very complimentary of the defense following the game, and we talked about how dominant they actually were. I mean, Bijan Robinson came into this game averaging 150 scrimmage yards a night, and he finished with 48 yards after everybody, including me, expected him to maybe run for 200. And also, how about this? The Dolphins' defense has not allowed a first-quarter touchdown in each of the last 5 games. So as much as we've got on Miami's defense this year, they've actually started the game relatively quick, and it is the second half where they ultimately struggle. But not really struggling yesterday against the Falcons. It was a wire-to-wire dominating effort where they controlled the line of scrimmage, didn't let any pass catcher for Atlanta get open down the field. Thought Rasul Douglas played one of his best games. I can't wait to just dive more into the All-22 in film. He's been phenomenal for Miami on a 1-year deal this season. I do want to say this, though. I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on the defense. Did they play a phenomenal game against the Falcons? Yes, they did. Did they also play actually pretty good against the Browns a week ago? Yeah. Think about this. Dolphins gave 31 points. 14 of it was from the offense, a pick 6 and another interception that was brought back to the 1-yard line. But the reason why I'm pumping the brakes just a little bit is think about the Dolphins' 2 wins. The games where Miami held their opponent under 21 points, right? 21 points or less. That's what the Jets scored. Falcons scored 10. They were playing Justin Fields, the 1-7 Jets. They got their first win against the Bengals yesterday on the road, by the way. And then Kirk Cousins, the backup quarterback in Atlanta. Like, I'm just not going to come up here and be that delusional after a win and be that captivated by Victory Monday to tell you that this defense is good. No, that's not the case whatsoever. But they have been playing a little bit better. I think we should give them a little bit more credit than they've gotten probably because, yes, the run defense has been bad, but back-to-back weeks where they're playing relatively good. And how about this little trend as well? I just was curious about this. Miami's 2 wins. Week 4, week 8. So 3-game losing streak to start the year, they win week 4. 3-game losing streak in week 5, 6, 7, and they win in week 8. Is this team just going to lose 3, win 1, lose 3, win 1? Certainly possible. The only reason why I bring this up because the schedule Miami has, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But are you a real fan of the Miami Dolphins? If that's the case, you got to be subscribed here to the channel because we're putting out 2 videos daily, live 3 times a week. We'll be live today. We'll be live on Thursday for week 9, Thursday Night Football, Dolphins, Ravens, and then live on Friday to break that down as well. Subscribe and join the family. Well, the reason why I brought up that trend is because it realistically could happen again. Look at Miami's next 3 games here. They play Baltimore at home on Thursday this upcoming week. Then they host the Bills after a mini-bye in Week 10. And then they play the Commanders in Real Madrid. Like, there's a realistic pathway here for Miami to go 0-3 in this stretch, have a bye week, come out of the bye, and beat the Saints in Week 13, and just keep that trend going of lose 3, win, lose 3, win, lose 3, and win. And for as much as we've talked about how well the Dolphins played on Sunday, there are many people on social media that says, well, if the Dolphins continue to play like that offensively and play that well of complementary football, could this team make a run to the playoffs? Like, we've seen them go on a heater before. Could they do it again? Well, they're 2-6. And I said it yesterday. If you want to make the playoffs, I think you got to go 8-1 in your last 9. Because the way this AFC East, the AFC wild card is shaping up, 10-7 is going to be required to be in the playoffs. So you'd have to go 8-1 in order to make the postseason. So, with that being said, I will not even start to think about what is possible in terms of getting to the postseason, and I won't take this team seriously unless they rattle off 3 straight wins. If they beat the Ravens with Lamar Jackson returning, the Bills and the Commanders in 3 straight weeks to get to 5-6 going into the bye week, and then you come out of the bye with the Jets and Saints, okay, then we'll talk about this team maybe making a run, because you can make the argument coming out of the bye week against the Jets and Saints, they'll win those games and be 7-6 in the final 5 games of the year if they ended up winning the next 3, I should say. But I'm not going to do that. I think that's a bit ludicrous. They've got a really tough test ahead of them this Thursday with Lamar Jackson returning. Ravens got a big win this past Sunday, so they're going to be fired up as they believe they can make a push to maybe win the AFC North after the Steelers have faltered a little bit here. They now sit at 4-3. It's going to be an interesting game this upcoming Thursday. But you got to give credit to Mike McDaniel as well before we sign off on this episode of Dolphins Today. I have said he needs to be fired. Most of you have said that. I'm not changing my stance there. I still think for the future of this football team, Mike McDaniel needs to be fired. But you also have to give credit where credit's due. The same thing I did with Tua, I'm going to do it with Mike here. This team could very easily quit, go into a little shell like a turtle, and call it a year. Because they've been horrible. Sky is falling 1-6. They didn't do that. They went on the road against a 3-3 team who had a top 5 ranked defense in the NFL and absolutely went belt to ass. They played hard. They were motivated. They had attention to detail. Stuff that we talk about that Mike McDaniel-led teams struggle with. But they were ready to go. And you got to give credit where credit's due for Mike. But the question that we've always seen with Mike is, can you do it again? And can you beat the good teams? Because even though they're 2-5, make no mistake, the Ravens with Lamar Jackson at quarterback are a good football team. Are you going to be able to get yourself off the mat, stay on the uptick, and take them down this Thursday? That remains to be seen. And we'll be here every step of the way with injury news before the game as well as live during the game. Subscribe and join the Dolphins Today family.